Hi, Tile from Fidelio here. Today we're going to talk about a terrific new headphone from Philips, the Philips Fidelio X2 headphone. This is a full-size open headphone that is the descendant of the Fidelio X1, which came out about a year and a half ago or so. And I really liked this headphone when I reviewed it. I thought it was kind of a bass head headphone. It had a very warm sound to it, a little bit thick in the lows, and also a little bit accentuated up high and some graininess to it. But other than that, I thought it was a terrific headphone sonically. It had some problems though. The ear cushions were not removable, so you couldn't replace them over time. The cable had kind of a high impedance, and the top of the headband was a little bit short, and people with large heads really couldn't quite fit in there. Philips evidently was listening, and listening quite carefully, and with the new X2, they've corrected all those problems. You can maybe see, it's a little bit hard, but you can maybe see that the headband has a little more space in it than previously. The ear pads are now removable. They just snap right off and can be replaced. And the cable is has a low enough impedance to be in normal. So they've fixed all those things. What I didn't expect was they would go another mile, so to speak, and really work on the sound quality of these headphones. And the new X2, I find, is terrifically balanced. This is a very, very balanced sounding headphone. Before I get into that, we're going to go into the headphone a little bit. It's got two aluminum straps that are covered by a calf skin. The hammock suspension is an elastic band in here that stretches and allows it to move. It is a very sort of airy material, and it does provide good cushioning. I did find that it seems to have a little more pressure on the top of my head. The elastic, I think, could be a little bit looser. Still, the comfort was quite good. The velour ear pads are very, very comfortable. There's a lot, and they're circular on the outside but oval on the inside, but it's a nice bit of space for your ears, so it easily fits in there. There's the ear pieces articulate up and down, but they do not articulate forward and back. However, there's a lot of play here, so I didn't have any problem with them aligning well with my ears. They did a very nice job there. These are a 50 millimeter driver. They are angled, as you can see, towards your ear. And a lot of the changes that were made from the X1 has to do with this structure in front of the diaphragm and thinner acoustic felt here. A lot of work was done right in this area of the headphone to improve the sonic characteristics. Also, the diaphragm is a new diaphragm compared to the older X1 diaphragm. The new diaphragm they call a composite diaphragm because it has two sections. The dome section is a multi-layered material with a polymer and then a gel and then a polymer, and that's in the dome to prevent it, to dampen any breakup of that dome section of the diaphragm up above about 8 kilohertz. The outer edge, the torus of the diaphragm, is not that multi-layer material, and that's why they call it a composite diaphragm, because it's the center of the diaphragm is different than the outside of the diaphragm. The sound characteristic of this headphone is that I find it extremely balanced. This is a very tonally balanced headphone. It's almost as if everything is accentuated when you put them on. The whole of the music is very, very present when you're listening. This headphone does have a bass boost in it relative to flat. It does start rising in the bass at about 180 hertz and goes up about 5 dB to peak at about 60 hertz, where the primary driver resonance is. And in an open headphone where you can't provide back pressure on the diaphragm, the roll off below 60 hertz will almost always descend at a 12 dB per octave rate. That's just physics. So it doesn't have quite the extension in the bass as, let's say, an Odyssey LCD3 or something like that, because of this characteristic of dynamic drivers. However, it goes down to about 30 hertz before it departs where it's even with the level of the mid-range. So I didn't experience it as having a lack of ultra low frequency extension. It really sounded quite good in the bass, and of course the bass is accentuated, so it sounds pretty good. Now that accentuation I would characterize as in line with the Harman target response curves, where they determined that flat speakers in a normal listening room do get some gain in the bass, and they think that headphones should have that gain in the bass in order to sound neutral, and that's really exactly what I found. The bass was really, really satisfying without being overblown. Also, dynamic open headphones, you're not going to get that very last bit of tightness in the bass that you would with a planar magnetic, for example, or in a sealed headphone where you can tighten up the bass. So it is very, very slightly loose. So I can't characterize it as a supremely tight bass, but it is not what I would consider a loose bass either. It's just very, very slightly soft in the bass. Up to about 1,000 hertz, after above that 180 hertz point where it lifts into the bass, it's very flat. And then it does what it's supposed to do pretty much up till about 3.5K. Then there's this area between 6 and 8K where they've notched it out, and they did that very intentionally. With the X1, I did perceive there to be a grainy character, and that might be from that 6 to 8 kilohertz region that they dialed back, and they did so fundamentally based on subjective impressions from people and blind listening tests. So this headphone is definitely tuned by ear with some very educated listeners over at Philips, and I think they've done a spectacular job in that regard. Additionally, the high frequency response up above 10 kilohertz is higher in level than on the X1. So while the X1 was higher in level in the low and mid treble, the X2 is higher in level at the in the very top octave, and it gives it a nice sense of air. So the result is this headphone sounds extremely balanced to my ears. To my measurement system, it isn't exactly extremely balanced, or what I would consider balanced, and that tension between technical correctness, if there is such a thing, and the what our ears like to hear and what people think sounds good, evidently there's some discrepancy there, and it is best to let the ears rule the day. At least that's what this headphone says. So while the measurements are a little weird, and just a little, the sound is absolutely spectacular. So I love this headphone. This is a $299 headphone. Should become available in November, and I highly suggest that you get a chance to listen to these because they are absolutely terrific. I think Philips has done a great job on them, and I hope you get a chance to listen to a pair soon because they're going to go up on the Wall of Fame. Had it not been for the fact that these are a 35 ohm headphone and won't play very well with high output impedance tube amplifiers, I would have probably knocked the HD 600 off the wall in favor of these. Yes, I think they're that good. They really are terrific. I guess there is a downside also in the treble. I don't think there is immaculately clean and resolving in the treble as some really high-end headphones are. The Sennheiser HD 800, for example. So I think there's Philips will no doubt be investigating that as time goes on and try to continue in their trek towards really good sound. Maybe even, hopefully, work on an even higher end headphone. I think they're at the point where they could produce a $600 to $1,000 headphone and really do something special. So yeah, this is terrific, and I hope you all get a chance to hear it soon because it is well worthwhile. All right, thanks, and we'll see you next time.